Okay, I think we'll have attendees join as we proceed, so I'm going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us for the second series of our Study in Ireland education webinar. Today, this afternoon, we just finished a webinar on studying STEM subjects in Ireland, and for the next hour, we're going to be focusing on studying the social sciences, business, design, and arts programs in Ireland. And I have with me 5 representatives from very well-known institutions in Ireland. My name is Namita Mehta. I'll just take an opportunity to introduce myself, and I'm the president of the Red Pen, which is an independent education consulting firm. We work with students and families on a one-on-one way where we help you find the best fit higher education institute at the undergrad level, at the postgrad level, and at the MBA level as well. Here are some data points about the students that have worked with us in the past. A couple more things to note about the Red Pen and myself is that I've been in the education space for over 12 years now, started my career out as a school counselor in an IB school, and then moved into the Red Pen. And I am very passionate about education. I have been educated in the UK myself, went to boarding school in the UK, and then continued on to do my undergrad and an integrated master's program in the UK as well. I'm very passionate about young students and prospective students having the right information before they make decisions about their future higher education goals. And that's one of the big things that we do at the Red Pen, is give you access to admissions counselors, to people like Anam in Education Ireland, to the heads of these institutions who can answer your questions so that then you can make the best decision for yourself about your higher education journey going ahead. The other thing I want you to note about the Red Pen is that we are a member of large organizations like AGAC and IECA and NACAC, which means that we hold ourselves to very high ethical standards when it comes to college counseling. We really want to make sure that you find the right institution for yourself, and that it's not really all about the rank and the prestige, but rather about where you're going to flourish, where you're going to end up getting that job and eventually having a flourishing career, and definitely learning and having a fantastic growing experience as well. So that's an introduction about me. I'd like to hand it over to Anam now from Education in Ireland, who we have partnered with for this webinar series. Go ahead, Anam.
Thanks, Namita. So as already mentioned, I represent Education in Ireland. We are responsible for promoting Ireland as a study destination to students in India and around South Asia. We are the education arm of Enterprise Ireland under the Government of Ireland. And yes, this initiative for a UG event is something we've been working on for a while. And, as you know, Ireland has some amazing undergraduate programs. The idea is to get a little more awareness about them out there. And that's why we have these wonderful institutions joining us today to tell you about them. And very pleased to partner with the Red Pen, who are helping us execute this plan. So very, I hope you get some useful information and tips from today's webinar, and find what you're looking for. And if you'd like to take the conversation forward, there are some social media handles that will be shared at the end of this webinar today. But there's also the Education in Ireland virtual showcase taking place on the 23rd of October, where we have about 20 of Ireland's higher education institutions participating. So do follow us on social media to know more about that. But till then, I hope you find this webinar super useful. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Namita.
Thank you so much, Anam. I'm going to give the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. Let's start with Shista.
Yeah, thank you so much, Namita, for initiating this. Thank you, Anam, for co-organizing this. And hello, everyone listening here. My name is Shista Kulasri. I am recruitment advisor South Asia for Sharon College of Hotel Management. Sharon College of Hotel Management is a part of National University of Ireland, Galway, and this is our 70th year running in the market. So we are established in 1950, and so we have completed 70 years this time, and we are Ireland's only dedicated college for hotel management. So my college is all about hospitality. My college is all about the hotel management courses you will get it. And as I told you, we are a part of NY Galway. So my curriculum, my degree is a part of National University of Ireland, Galway, which comes under top 1% universities in the world and is one of the most prestigious institute in the whole Ireland. And I am so thrilled to be here, and I'm really looking forward to you guys having more knowledge on how hospitality is back on track. Yes, we all know that hospitality was on a back seat for a while. So I am really thrilled to, to let you guys know how we are back on track, how we are up and running, and looking forward to it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Shrista, and welcome to this webinar. And looking forward to learning all about the Sharon College of Hotel Management. Let's move on to Nilajna now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nilajna Shrim. I'm the recruitment manager for Trinity College, Dublin, which is the University of Dublin. And before telling you about Trinity, I'd like to thank Red Pen and Education in Ireland for giving us this opportunity. Trinity College, Dublin is one of the 7 ancient universities of the world. We were founded in 1592, and we are currently in our 429th year, where we are ranked 101st in the world and among the top 100 for employability of our graduates. We are located right in the heart of Dublin city center. And we have 3 faculties and 24 schools. Our Faculty of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences is the largest faculty with 12 schools. So I will be talking more about it, and I'll pass on to the next panelist. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nilajna. And Koch, please.
Thanks, Namita, and hi everybody. It's fantastic to be here with you today. So my name is Koch Noon, and I work at Galway Mayo Institute of Technology on the west coast of Ireland. So I have dual responsibilities in the organisation. I'm the head of the Galway International Hotel School, and I'm also Vice President for International Engagement. So we have 5 campuses across the west coast of Ireland, and I'm delighted to be here today to share with you some information around our non-STEM programmes. We too have programmes in hospitality and culinary, heritage, tourism and event management and public relations. And that's an area that I have specific responsibility for. And I suppose we too have a long reputation in this space. We were the first higher education institute in Ireland to award degrees in hotel management. And just like my colleague from Shannon said, the global tourism industry really is rebounding after COVID, and there's a lot of very exciting opportunities out there. So we're very lucky at our school because we work very closely with industry and enterprise partners globally. We have alumni globally, and that really makes a difference if students choose to come and study with us, because you really can consider a global career. But there's also lots of other exciting non-STEM related programs in GMIT, and I look forward to sharing some updates with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Koch. Let's move on to Soumya now.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you, Namita and Anam, for organizing this. Very happy to be here. So a little bit about myself. I'm the Senior Country Advisor for the University of Limerick. Much like Namita, I went to a boarding school as well, not in the UK, but in India. And I also went to the UK for my undergrad. It was an experience. So I would like to be, I would call myself an international higher education advocate in a way. So about the University of Limerick, we are one of the largest campuses in Ireland, spanning over 366 acres. A very attractive feature about our campus is that we have the largest UK and Irish river flowing right through the middle of our campus. We are also an independent, internationally focused university with about 17,000 students at present and 1,500 staff and faculty. We have an established network of over 1,700 cooperative education employers, and 2,000 undergraduate placements are secured annually in industry, commerce, and public service. All in all, I would like to say that as a student at the University of Limerick, you can expect a high-grade academic career along with a very enriching student life. So that's all.
Thank you so much, Soumya. Let's move on to Colin.
Thanks, Namita, and kudos to you and Anam for organizing this today. It's great to have the opportunity to talk to students. So I am Colin Cronin. I'm Senior International Officer at Dublin City University. But I have worked in Irish higher ed for around about 15 years, and suffice to say, I know the sector very well. I can talk to how strong it is. Former colleague of Nilajna in Trinity College. I studied at UCC. I worked at University College Dublin, worked at the Cork Institute of Technology. So I can say that Ireland really is a wonderful place to study. legendary, known as the land of saints and scholars. But even in 2021, I think we do a great job at welcoming international students to Ireland, providing them with a wonderful student experience when they're here, and with career opportunities when they graduate. DCU, Dublin City University, was named Ireland's University of the Year for 2021, and we were last week named 23rd in the world for graduate employment rate. So our graduates get jobs, and they get very good jobs. And looking forward to the opportunity to chat to everyone today, I suppose, all about all that Ireland, Dublin and DCU has to offer.
Thank you so much, Colin, and thank you everyone for these introductions. For all my attendees, we have some pre-decided questions that I'm going to ask our panelists about the application process, student life in Ireland, about scholarship opportunities. So we'll get through these questions and then certainly address any questions that you have for any specific panelist, myself or Anam. We'd be happy to address those after our conversation. So let's get started. Let's start with the application process. So, Soumya, can you just briefly describe the application process to your institution, please?
Of course. I would say it's very simple, not very complicated. So all undergraduate and postgraduate applications to the University of Limerick are made online through our application portal. There's a link on every course website that you just have to click on, and it directs you to the application portal. There is a €35 application fee, and students can apply for a first choice program and a second choice program. You will be assessed for your first choice program first, and if offered for your first choice, we do not assess your second choice. And in the case you do not make your first choice, we will assess you for the second choice. It's important that students always, have researched the programs that we are offering, and make sure that you're very sure of the first choice before you begin your application. At the time of application, you are requested to upload all your educational documents so that decisions can be made quickly. We assess applications on a rolling basis, and our application portal will open on the 20th of October for the 2022 entry, and it will close on the 1st of July. We give conditional offer letters, so even if you're still in school, you can make your application. We do not need to have your IELTS or your TOEFL test scores at the time of application, as we can offer conditional offer letters to meeting our English language requirement. Decisions on complete undergraduate applications are normally made within 5 days.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for that, Soumya. So let's move on. I have some questions for Koch. So do students have to apply to only one course? I know, Soumya, you mentioned that you can apply to 2 courses, but is there an opportunity for you to apply to multiple programs? And can students, change their course if they get to university and they decide they don't want to study that particular subject? And Koch, can you please tell us a little bit about the accredited work placements on courses which help students to get jobs after they graduate?
Sure, of course. I suppose in relation to your first question around the application process and if you can apply for more than one, I think that's very much dependent on the university or the college you're applying to. So I think we got some really good advice from our last speaker, and I would echo this. It's so very important that applicants, students would do their research in advance. There is a lot of great information on all of our websites. We have fantastic international advisors all over the world. You can always reach out and speak to somebody on any of our campuses and in our international offices. So I would say it's really important to think carefully and choose wisely. Sometimes if we see an application coming in with multiple requests, it might allow us to think that this candidate doesn't really know what they want to do. And if you just take a little bit of time and you consider carefully the options and maybe speak to somebody, I think you'll probably make a much better application. And that is only my perspective. But I think it's important to check out the requirements for every higher education institute because they will vary. Some will only maybe allow you to apply for one course, others will allow you to apply for more than one. The same would apply to the second part of your question. In some organizations, you may be allowed to change course, particularly if there is availability or capacity in that program. But we have seen a really significant demand on the island of Ireland for higher education. We have seen the numbers taking high school final examinations grow significantly. And the demand for some courses is particularly It's particularly strident at the moment, and it's becoming even busier. So I wouldn't say it would be a natural assumption you can transfer. I know higher education institutes would do their very best to facilitate it, but it couldn't be guaranteed. So there may be prerequisites in place that would stop you from doing that. So again, this is about doing your homework, about taking the time to research in advance. I don't know of any international engagement office that would not facilitate a call or a communication with any potential applicant if they were unsure of that type of information. And as I said, we have amazing international ambassadors, so you need to reach out to our colleagues and speak to them. It's so important to do that research in advance. It can save you a lot of unnecessary hassle when you get to your destination, and hopefully that will be Ireland. There is many great accredited internships, work placement programs, part of undergraduate education, even some postgrad education in Ireland. And I would say this is a huge advantage for any candidate coming to Ireland and wanting to study with us, whether it's in a university, a technological university, or indeed an institute of technology. We have many great options. And in my experience, in the non-STEM side, they are fantastic and they're really interesting. And indeed, some of them are paid. So sometimes students might receive some financial benefit whilst also studying their undergraduate program. So that's a help as well, because it provides a little bit of additional income. But certainly I can say across the business streams and in design, and particularly also in hospitality and tourism and culinary, there are fantastic opportunities. And I know these opportunities happen because we have a very strong partnership with enterprise and industry partnership. It's not something we just talk about, it's something we actually live. So I know in some of our universities, particularly in your universities, this is a really strong component of education and curriculum design, and it's prevalent throughout all of the institutes of technology as well. So this is something I would want potential learners or students to be thinking about, because this gives you a fantastic advantage when you graduate and you have that skill set and you have that experience, and it probably will set you up for a very good first job.
Thank you so much for that, Koch. I think I love what you said about how there's no international admissions, admissions department that wouldn't want to address any questions that international students have. So use this opportunity today to ask your questions, everybody. Please put it in the Q&A chat. And I love the advice.
Absolutely, Nilajna.
Yeah,
absolutely. And if I could just add, Ireland's a very small island. We're a very small country. We have a very small number of higher education institutes between universities and institutes of technology. But what we do have is an amazing team. So when we are visiting India or visiting any location in the world, it is very much Team Ireland. And Colin was right in his address, in terms of the experience students can get when they come to Ireland. So we recognize we are competing with the global economy in terms of people choosing where they want to study in higher education. But the team in Ireland are phenomenal. And in saying that as well, if we get queries in GMIT that we don't have that program in, we will reach out to our colleagues in the other higher education institutes. It's a really great group of colleagues to work with. And I mean that when I say you should reach out if you have questions.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Koch. I love the synergy. So Nilajna, on that note, let's move on. How do applicants, stand out in this process? It's just getting more competitive every year. When I assess numbers, number of international students, number of Indian students who want to study abroad, it's literally the numbers are like this. How do students stand out in this process? I know that academics is the key component when it comes to evaluation of a student's application when they're applying to universities in Ireland, but what else can they do to stand out in this process?
Yes, so like you rightly said, academics is the basis of assessment for all applications, but there are ways students can add value to their applications. One, of course, is through their personal statement, where what we are looking for is that they have made an informed decision. They have done their research when putting in the application, that enough thought has gone behind it. And essentially what we are trying to ensure is that students are making, when they are making that decision to apply to a particular university or a course, their expectations in terms of the learning outcomes are aligned with what the course actually offers. So for all of the universities, I would think the website is very comprehensive. They can find out exactly what they're going to study in each year of the program. And for Trinity, we also have a dedicated section which is for graduate skills and career opportunities. So they will know exactly what doors are going to be open for them by choosing a particular program. So do put that effort, because it is in any ways, it's a very critical decision of your life. So please put in enough effort. So that is about the personal statement. And in addition to that, we also ask for 2 academic LORs, which are personal to the student. So these are the 2 ways that they could add value to their application. In addition, of course, their English language proficiency would also matter a lot, particularly for us at Trinity, because every student has to do a capstone project as part of their qualification, whether undergraduate or postgraduate, and that accounts for 40% of the final bachelor degree mark. So in that sense, writing is a very critical skill out of the language proficiency, so it should really stand out. And I think these are the 3 ways. And of course, for Trinity, they need to apply early. So our applications open on 1st November, and we have 1 intake in September. We take about 2 to 4 weeks to assess applications. So for that reason, and again, like Soumya said, it is on a rolling basis. So the longer they wait to apply, the more competitive it's going to get, because they'll be competing for a smaller number of places. So these are the 3 ways. 1, do your research, start early. Do seek as much advice as you can, but I think your own research, the kind of person you yourself are, should guide the decision. And then put in your application as early as possible, and preferably as complete as possible. We would definitely give them conditional offers if they do not have the English proficiency test, but the LORs, the personal statement, and the predicted grades in the case of undergrad is mandatory. And then, of course, the academic registry is going to verify the LOR, so that takes a little time. So the sooner they apply, the better their chances. And it takes about 2 to 4 weeks anyways to give out the decision. Then it might be a conditional offer if they do not have their final grades.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that overview, Nilajna. Let's move on to a little bit about costs. What is the average cost of a non-STEM degree in Ireland, and what a little bit about living costs? Shista, if you can address that, and then Koch, maybe you can add on to that.
Yep. Great. So, as you can say, for a general non-STEM course, which is usually for 4 years, right? So when I say cost is as similar as a student doing a business degree from UK or even from Ireland, right? So if I give you a ballpark figure for a non-STEM course for 4 years is somewhere around, I guess, 40 to 42,000 euros, that too all for 4 years. So this is going to be your cost. And especially the beauty about non-STEM courses, when I say like hospitality or culinary, the beauty about those courses are that, as my colleague also said it, that it has a lot of internships option. So yes, the burden is not just on you, the burden doesn't just go on your parents back in India, but you yourself will be able to earn a fair share. Like, especially when I say for Sharon College of Hotel Management, we have a part where every second year student has a dedicated internship. Whole your 12 months is going to be your internship month in your second year, and you will earn somewhere around 18 to 19,000 euros. That in your second year. So that is the beauty about non-STEM courses, that whatever the courses, and I'm sure it is with all the institutes that offers these courses, that in a hospitality course, in a hospitality structure course, you will have some sort of internships, and of course some are going to be paid. So yes, that is that pretty much helps you to cover your cost, right? And when I say the living expense, so the living expense at of course, as mentioned earlier, that Ireland is a small island, right? It's not a it's not as metropolitan as being in New York City or maybe being in London for that matter. So cost of living is relatively less. The cost of living is not as competitive as being in any other metropolitan city. And the best part is that, it's less competitive. So you have, great job opportunities for yourself. So if I have to give a financial term to it, if I have to give up a ballpark figure, so a cost of living in Ireland for a month is going to be somewhere around 500 to 600 euros. And of course, you will have many opportunities to earn it for yourself. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Shista. Koch, would you like to add something?
The only thing I would add is that not unlike any other countries, I reckon, in Europe. The cost of living can vary depending on the accommodation piece. Accommodation can be somewhat challenging. Yes, many universities have on-campus accommodation, but they're also in real demand. So the sooner you get your application in, the sooner you make that decision about choosing to study in Ireland, the sooner you need to maybe consider your options. And there are lots of options, but there's also a lot of demand for the space as well. And there's lots of supports and lots of help available. I know sometimes within the organisations, within universities and institutes, there may be a particular department or a unit that will advise or guide on that. Sometimes students reach out to family or friends who are living in the country. But just to be aware that it is something that's, it's accommodation is something that is challenging. And I don't think it's going to get any easier initially. And yes, whilst there are new accommodation blocks being built all of the time, there is a variety of choice. So I would say, whilst you're taking your research to decide what course you want to study and what country you want to study in, it's equally important to think about what accommodation options will best suit you. Some international students prefer to maybe take that option of living with a family for a year and going that route until they become settled in a country. Other students want to be very independent and live alone. So there's a lot of thinking to be done around this, and definitely some planning. It would not be advisable to arrive in Ireland on September 1 to start looking for accommodation. That would not be something I'd recommend to anybody.
Thank you so much for that, Koch. There's some more questions about accommodation, and I'll get to that in a moment. But let's move on to you, Colm. Just if I wanted to know a little bit about, scholarships for international students. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think every institution is going to have a scholarship of sorts, but I think it's important for students to recognize that scholarships are a bonus. I don't think anyone should ever rely on a scholarship. Don't ever put all your eggs in the scholarship basket and think, oh, I'm going to get a scholarship that's going to cover all my course costs and all my living expenses. It's a lovely bonus to have, but just as Koch was saying around planning for accommodation, planning for your expenses is going to be important as well. And definitely do your research, look into the different scholarship opportunities that might be available. They can exist at an institutional level. Sometimes within schools or departments, there might even be specific scholarship opportunities that you can apply for. They can be for any number of different reasons. Sometimes they are based on nationality. Sometimes they're based on different factors. So really do research into that. There are kind of governmental scholarships available, but again, they're super competitive. There are going to be huge numbers of people applying. So it's just to be conscious of that. We do at DCU have a merit scholarship that it's based entirely off of a student's previous academic background. There's no application form the students have to fill in, no box that they have to tick. Every application is automatically assessed for that merit scholarship, and that would be €2,000 off of their fees per year of study. But I suppose again, it's that's going to be a partial scholarship. It's going to depend on institutions what portion it is. But really, if you're depending solely on scholarships to pay your way, that can be, I would never advise a student to put themselves in that situation.
I completely agree with you, Colm. Thank you so much for that. Anam, do you want to add something to this question, please?
Yes. Just Colm mentioned the government scholarship. So just to add to that, yes, there are some wonderful scholarships. What it does offer is a full year fee waiver for students for 1 year of study. And along with that, there is also a stipend for living expenses. So that's something that students can consider, and call for applications actually open in Feb of every year before the September intake. So, plan ahead and, check out our website, the Education in Ireland website, if you want to consider these scholarships.
Thank you so much, Anam. Okay, I'm going to now move on to Soumya. talk a little bit about course-specific questions. What are the most popular courses that Indian students apply to? And do you have a quota? Do you have a certain number? Like, do you cap at a certain number of international students per course or per major that your university offers? Can you just shed some light on that, please?
Yes, thanks, Namita. So talking about which are the most popular programs, I think our undergraduate students coming to the University of Limerick from India are interested in our 4-year undergraduate programs in the Chemi Business School and the Faculty of Science and Engineering, mainly. All of the undergraduate programs at UL have an element of cooperative education, whereby students are placed in industry for a period of 6 to 9 months. And this is a very attractive part of the program. It is compulsory. So the 3rd year just goes in the work in industry year. Personally, if I had this opportunity, I would have picked it. Another thing to add here is that our law programs are recognized by the Bar Council of India. And at present, we are one of the only 2 Irish institutions to be recognized by the Bar Council of India. So that's another very attractive program to Indian students. Talking about the limit on program numbers, at present, there is none, apart from the Bachelor's of Engineering in Aeronautical Engineering, where we take only 15 international students, because this is one of our most popular programs.
Super, thank you so much for that. Shristi, I'm going to move on to you now. Do you offer any non-STEM courses that give students the option to work during the course? For example, like co-op opportunities?
Yeah, thank you, Namita. So yeah, we don't have any particular courses that are different from hospitality, but what we have done is, and to cover, the part that a student requires to work while, while they're studying, especially abroad. So what we have done is, in all my courses, I'll start with my bachelor's. So in my bachelor's, we have 2 programs, and both the programs are, integrated with business. We just don't offer hospitality. We just don't offer bachelor's of hospitality, but rather we offer BBA in International Hotel Management and BCom in International Hotel Management. So both my courses are integrated with business part of it. The idea behind this is to teach a student that there is a lot into hospitality. Hospitality doesn't just about being in front office or being a chef. There is a whole lot that goes behind to it. There's a whole there's a whole operation sector to it. There is a whole financial sector to it. So that is what we have done in my programs. We have integrated it with the business part to it, and that's why we have and talking about the internship parts. So as I mentioned earlier, that there is an internship for whole 2nd year that is a part of your curriculum, and we are responsible for it. We will get you placed, and we have a very good tie-up with the hotels. We are currently in touch with 140 hotels across 17 countries. So those are my hotel partners. So my college hotel partners. So what we do is we place students in 2nd year. So whole 2nd year, a student will be working with actual hotel. They will be working that, how to, how this industry works. And that depends on the student that, what they want to do. We have options to be in front office. We have option to be in finance department. So everything is, is a part of your curriculum. And a student is very much eligible to earn somewhere around 18 to 19,000 euros, that too in their 2nd year. And especially in my master's also. So from this year also, we are introducing this. So yeah, I think this is my first official platform where I'm saying this, that, from this year, from 2020, we have come up with 2 new master programs. And with my existing master program, what we have done is, again, business has always been a part of my courses, right? So it's not just about being a chef. It's not just about being in front office. It is about how to run a hospitality business, how to be your own boss. That is what is included in my program. So what we have done is, from this year, we have come up with this thing that in 3rd semester in your masters, you will have an option to work for the internships. And of course, those internships are going to be paid internships, and we will be responsible for those. We will be getting those internships for you, that too at master's level. And I say utmost proud to announce this, that we are one of the few institutes that offer a paid internship at master's level, and that too and of course, it is a continuous evaluation program. We will evaluate your first year and second semester, performance. Of course, there is your academic, there is your other activities will be taken into consideration. But yes, if everything goes well, you are very, very well eligible to apply for those internships in your third semester, and we will be responsible to get it placed for you guys. So that is what the gist of everything is, that my courses, we don't have a particular non-STEM program, but rather we have integrated those business, those operations, those financial parts to it, so that you have fully fleshed everything, so that you are aware of how to run a business and how to be into a business. So, and of course the hospitality business. So yeah, so this is what we have come up with. This is what we offer at Shannon.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Shristi. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the world has been so closed for so long that, I mean, hospitality and travel is going to boom again. I mean, I'm itching to kind of get on a plane as well and kind of explore the world. So thank you for sharing that. And I think it's really nice for parents to know that if they're investing in this opportunity for their children, even at the master's level, that they're getting experience and they're walking out of it with some actual real life experience, which is amazing. So thank you.
And I'll just add one point, that especially for my UG, for my bachelor's, we are known in the market for 100% placement. So this is what this is what our forte is, that for every student in my bachelor's is 100% placed at the end of their year fourth. And of course, over 140 hotels, 17 countries. So that's what. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shristi. We'll move on now. Nilajna, can you talk a little bit about exchange programs as well, among Trinity College Dublin and other institutions?
Absolutely. We have over 300 exchange partners, and these are the top universities across the world, be it the US, Canada, Australia, across Europe, as well as Asia. And also we have a very prestigious program, which is a dual BA program along with Columbia University, New York. It is focused on our Faculty of Arts and Humanities. So there are over 10 subjects where the students do their first 2 years in Trinity and their next 2 years at Columbia, and they get their degree from both universities. And of course, they will have to meet the entry requirements for both the universities. So there will be additional essays, and there is also an interview with a panel from both the universities. And this particular program also has an earlier closing date of 2nd January. So it is just between 1st November and 2nd January that you need to apply to. Apart from that, we have the partnerships where students can choose to do 1 semester or the full 3rd year at one of our partner universities. Our study abroad team works with the students in the 2nd year to check their interest and also their eligibility. But yes, the options will definitely be there for every program, and that is really encouraged to get a broader perspective on the subject area.
Thank you so much for that, Nilajna. I'm going to now move on to Koch, a little bit about visas and staying on to study. So Koch, are international students allowed to work while they're students? What about during the holiday time? And after they graduate, do they have to find a job to stay? And do they have to find a job in the degree that they've done? So if I've done a degree at, say, Galway Mayo Institute of Technology in AI and I get a job in hospitality, is that okay, or must it be in what I've studied? If you can just shed some light on that, please.
Absolutely, I will. And the first thing I would say is, and it's been mentioned once or twice, so I hope maybe we can put it in the chat, but I would encourage anybody participating in the panel today, or people listening in here and watching, to really check out the Education in Ireland website. There is excellent information on this one resource. So of course, we're all encouraging you to go visit our websites and look at our colleges and universities and look at all we offer. But I would strongly urge anybody interested in studying in Ireland, STEM or non-STEM, and I don't like that language, but the reality is you really should check out the Education in Ireland website. It has excellent information in relation to all of the topics we're talking about. And if you need more information, as I said, you can reach out and contact us. So yes, when students are studying during the year, There is a lot of processes they follow, but if they follow the processes and they're properly registered and they have all of their documentation in place, they can work during their studies up to 20 hours a week. And it's clearly articulated in the documentation what they can do and what they cannot do. So I would urge them to go check that detail, because once they do that, there should not be a problem. During the summer months, if students are still legally allowed to stay in Ireland and remaining in Ireland, then during the summer period, which would be officially summertime, their break from college, although not all of them are on a break, because some of them are often on internship or maybe undertaking an internship. But if they are available during the summer, then yes, they can work full time as well. Again, it's dependent on factors, but once they follow the protocols, once they've registered properly, once they have their PPS number, all of that detail, which is clearly articulated on the Education in Ireland website, they can obviously work as well. In relation to after graduation, there's a number of opportunities for them. We often find in Ireland with international students, many of them are very much drawn towards immediately studying a postgraduate qualification. Some may want to work. So after your undergraduate honours degree, you can apply to stay in Ireland. You can work in Ireland for a year if you do get a job, if you want to maybe get some more experience, which obviously in some disciplines students do want to do, because not every programme may have an internship. Not every program may have that work placement element. A lot do, but not everybody does. So there is that opportunity to apply for that. If they have a postgraduate qualification, they can apply to stay up to 2 years. And indeed, we find many international students often stay on longer because their employer wants them to stay. They find they have a fantastic set of skills that will allow them to maybe develop and grow in a company, or maybe join a global company and then be able to work elsewhere in the world as well. In relation to disciplines, it depends on the discipline, it depends on what you want to do, but generally you can move around, but it is very dependent on which discipline you're studying and what your ambitions are. But I suppose I should add that, Ireland, while it is a small island, we're part of a global economy, and more importantly, we have a lot of multinational companies here, as well as a lot of fantastic Irish businesses. So there are career opportunities in almost every industry in the world here. So I believe international students have a great opportunity if they do want to stay here, because they can join so many different industries. And as I said, all of the higher education partners are connected with enterprise partners. That's how we work. We don't work in, alone. We don't for one moment think we're only academic institutes. We're a lot more. And I think that's a huge advantage, because that allows our learners and our students to meet with industry partners and to network. And that really can help inform their career decisions or employment decisions. Of course, something else that we often have on campuses that can support our learners are careers events and careers fairs. I believe all of the universities and the Institutes of Technology and the technological universities, because we have 3 different types of higher education institutes here now, we all organise different careers events. Some are in person. Before COVID happened, and we even went online when we had to host these events virtually. And they've been fantastic events, because they've allowed the students to interact directly with industry partners and speak about those career opportunities. And that's important for a student when they're studying and they're thinking about what they might do after they graduate.
Thank you so much for that, Koch. I'm going to let Colm add to that, perhaps. I mean, many prospective students and parents always have the question about, am I going to get a job after I graduate? And how does university support these students? I mean, Koch, you gave some fantastic ways in which they do with these careers fairs, and really having a connection with the world and the enterprise organizations, not just your university. But is there anything else you'd like to add, Colm, how international students are supported to find work after they graduate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real focus for all of the institutions in Ireland. And I think we have been very fortunate in that COVID, because of the types of industries that are strong in Ireland, we've been able to, see the economy grow in many areas. And I think one of the things that's important, given that this is kind of non-STEM, is that Ireland is synonymous with tech. and the European headquarters for the likes of Facebook and Google. And so sometimes students think that, I have to be a developer, or I have to work in AI in order to get a job. Google and Facebook are always looking for copywriters, for people graduating in HR, for journalists from all of the different areas. And because of those companies being based in Ireland, that leads to, a huge number of people coming to work in those companies, visiting those companies. That leads to other opportunities in terms of hospitality and lots of different areas. So there are many, I think, different areas that benefit from Ireland being such a tech hub. And I think, others have touched on it, the fact that almost all of the programs, have some aspect of either a work placement or project-based working with industry, really helps students to get a sense of what the working culture is like, and the career services at all the institutions will do work with the students on getting them ready for interviews and for what workplace culture is like. So I think that the opportunities when you come to study in Ireland to get a good job afterwards are manifold.
But thank you so much, Colm. I'm going to continue with you. Can you talk a little bit about, popular extracurricular activities and societies and clubs outside of the classroom in your campuses?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, academics and getting a job are enormously important. Obviously, that's why you're coming to study. But that said, it can't just be that. And one of the things that employers do look for well-rounded individuals. So all our institutions, again, are going to have a lot of extracurricular activities. And at DCU, we have more than 150 clubs and societies, and it would be the same at all the institutions. And I would encourage students to get involved and take advantage of those opportunities. It's a great way to get to know people, outside of the classroom as well. And you can get involved in a number of different areas. If it's something that, you're passionate about from back home. So maybe you play cricket. I think most of our institutions certainly have cricket clubs. I know we do at DCU, and I know Trinity does that as well from my time there. If you like, getting out and about hiking or mountain walking, again, there's going to be a club for that. Maybe you enjoy rock climbing or tennis. Equally, if you're into drama or music or singing, those are going to be options for you. But I always encourage students as well to maybe try something that you haven't done before. So that could be something like maybe trampolining, if you haven't done that before, or maybe learning a new language. I mean, learning a new language, the opportunity to do that and to learn from native speakers, because remember, at all our institutions, you're going to have people from all around the world. So you can learn Spanish from somebody from Spain, or French from somebody from France, and they will benefit from learning from you. And again, that's going to add a string to your bow when you do go into the working world and you are applying for jobs at a multinational company, if you have additional language skills. But it's going to benefit you personally to learn from others, to interact with others. And I can tell you that I know from my own experience at studying at university, making friends from around the world, the opportunity to go and visit those people, to have friends in different countries around the world that you can go and visit a decade later, 15 years later, and still keep in touch. That's wonderful, and one of the really great things about university life. So extracurricular activities are really they're supported, and at DCU you can actually it can go in your transcript if you're involved in organizing in a club or a society, not just by taking part, but if you were a treasurer or a chairperson, or you're involved in volunteering. That can actually go on your transcript as an additional 5 credits. So it is something that there is a lot of time and effort dedicated to, because it does benefit you. We know that students who are engaged in social activities do better in the classroom and tend to do better when they move on to get a work post-graduation.
Thank you so much for that, Colm. And I just want to thank, my panelists for answering questions in the chat. I can see that they're all coming in, so thank you for doing that. I have one more preset question, then we can move to a couple of questions that are on the chat. But Nilajna and Koch, if you can speak a little bit about accommodation. I know we touched on that. Do universities in Ireland, promise first-year accommodation to their to all their first-year students, and then after that, do students choose about living outside, or do universities also offer accommodation for second, third-year students as well? So if you can just touch upon that, Koch and Nilajna, I'll let you both take over on that.
That's all right. I'll start quickly. Yes, we do guarantee accommodation for the first year students, and thereafter we have an accommodation service which assists the students. But typically, second year students hardly come to us for assistance. They are very well versed, they are acclimatized completely, and they are able to find their way around the city. But yes, if they need help, we are there. But first year, yes, we guarantee accommodation, considering that they are the younger ones and they may need some hand-holding. So 1 year, the first year is definitely guaranteed. We typically accommodate them in Trinity Hall, which is not physically on our campus because we do not have as much space. We have a 47-acre campus in the heart of city center. But Trinity Hall is slightly away, about 20-25 minutes away from the campus. That is where most of the first year students are accommodated. And of course, help is always at hand if they need it for the subsequent years.
Namita, I would say every university and institute is different and individual. So I would not wish to respond on behalf of colleagues. So I think it would be really important for anybody interested in a particular institute or university to go online and to check that specific information out, because everybody will be individual. Some will have on-campus accommodation, some will have nearby, some will guarantee, some won't. So again, I would urge the students to have a look themselves and to find the exact information. What I can tell you is that there will be a lot of help and support and guidance provided. That can come from a variety of people. So for example, in our organisation, the International Engagement Office and the Students' Union will advise and guide students and their families as well. It depends if you're in a very big city. It's a little bit more complicated because you have a lot more space. If you're in a smaller city or in a smaller area, it's much easier and perhaps less challenging. But as I mentioned earlier, accommodation is it is becoming an issue, and it would be unfair to say it's not. But with enough planning and with enough time spent looking in advance and considering your options, you can deal with it, I would say. So I would urge people again to go look and to check it out, because you will see a variance in price, you will see a variance in offer. But what I have seen is I've seen a lot of very, very excellent student accommodation around Ireland, and a lot of new accommodation being built in various different cities and regions in recent times. And I've been lucky enough to work in a lot of different locations around the world over the last 30 years. So I would say there's some very excellent standard accommodation available. But again, it is perhaps that old adage, you pay for, you get what you pay for. So if it is very cheap, there may be a reason behind it. But in general, I would say the universities and the colleges are offering as competitive as is possible. But please check out what each university and college says themselves, because it is quite unique to them.
Thank you so much for that, Koch. I'm going to move on to some of the questions, but again, I want to thank the panelists for typing out and answering the questions, because I've been seeing them come through. Let's get started. Anam, there was a question in the chat about how, Irish universities handled the COVID-19 situation in 2020 and in 2021. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, and what about for prospective students? Certain universities have, especially for this year, they've been asked to come on their own, and settling in without a family member, it's obviously very challenging. What is the situation now? If you can just give us a little overview of this.
Sure. Happy to, Namita. So, Ireland's government quite efficiently responded to the pandemic and the challenges it posed for international students. So last year itself, they were provided with healthcare aid. There was also weekly compensation for students who had lost their part-time jobs because of the pandemic. Institutions, of course, switched to online classes. And but a year later, I'm very happy to say that we have again there's a back to campus plan by the government of Ireland, and so institutions have actually opened their doors to both national and international students, and of course following health and safety protocols. This is also largely due to a very effective vaccination drive that Ireland has done, and because of which over 90% of the adult population is already vaccinated, and this is one of the highest vaccination rates around the world. So students are being welcomed back now, which is very great news to international students who are considering studying abroad. And I'd also like to add, I know parents are very concerned, about perhaps visiting or traveling with their children. So, short stay visa processing has also reopened for India, which will allow family members to travel to, their family members who are studying in Ireland. So yes, good news on a lot of fronts for international students considering to study in Ireland.
Thank you so much for that, Anam. I think, before somebody answered a question, there was something about application timelines. So can I get Colm to answer that question, please?
Sure. And again, it's going to differ from institution to institution. So depending, where you're interested in, do look at their website. But for us, our application portal will open on the 1st of November. And then you're looking at kind of, depending on the course, depending on the student uploading or providing all their information straight away, it could be a 2-week turnaround. It may take 3-4 weeks if there's something missing, or if it's a course where, there might be more faculty involvement needing to look at something in particular. So anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks is generally the turnaround time, but it's similar to what others have said earlier. You're looking, it's done on a rolling basis, and particularly for courses like psychology. Our psychology course definitely closes early. So if that's an area of interest, there you're really going to want to get your application in early for that. The sooner you get it in, the sooner you'll have your offer, the better you'll be able to plan in terms of your accommodation, in terms of applying for those other scholarship opportunities, and just really kind of making the most of your time in Ireland. But certainly for us, everything really opens from the 1st of November onwards.
Thank you so much for that, Colm. I actually have a question about English language proficiency tests. If we have students that are studying in international curricula in India, like they're in the IB, or if they're studying the A-levels, do you require them to submit the TOEFL or the IELTS? Soumya, do you want to answer that, please?
Yes. So for the University of Limerick, you are required to submit either an IELTS test or a TOEFL. We were accepting Duolingo as for till last year, but as of now, since India is not in a lockdown, it's not going to happen. But in the case, God forbid, there is another lockdown, we will go back to Duolingo as well. This is mandatory. We don't offer an IELTS waiver or any other accommodation for this at the moment.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Soumya. We have time for about one more question, and I really want to focus on a little bit about placements, students that have graduated and what kind of placements they've got. Steve was very kind and told us about how all the undergraduate students at the Shannon College of Hotel Management have 100% placement. So maybe if Koch, you want to talk a little bit about international students who graduate from Galway Mayo, and what kind of placements do they have, and a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, in the first instance, we have accredited work placement and internships on all of our courses. So that's a fantastic opportunity, and it extends beyond just 1 year in the program. So we have it in first year, we have it again in third year. The employment opportunities are phenomenal in hospitality and tourism. I would say they're also very positive as well in business, but it depends on what level of business and it depends on the type of business. So I've seen a real drive in accounting, and I've seen a lot of success stories in accounting again. But that's simply because of that particular discipline area. And also, I think there's been some really good moves in accounting as well over the last decade in Ireland. And there's a really good mix of both Irish and international businesses here as well. In the design space, so if we're looking at design as part of the humanities and the creative arts and the creative industries, and we have a fantastic school in the creative industries and design, there's in addition to the studio-based element, which is a very important part of that program, there's also a very significant engagement with enterprise and industry there as well. So very often you will have a variety of career opportunities for people coming out of all of these non-STEM programs. And what's really exciting is some of them provide opportunities for people to set up their own business, to become an entrepreneur, to start their own work. Some of them are loan operators, where you have people working in that very small enterprise, maybe themselves or maybe one other. Very often I see in the creative industries piece, I see something that's very popular called collectives. So groups of artists coming together to form a really strong, vibrant group that can serve a different regional need, which is of course very important. And last but not least, of course, in hospitality and tourism, we have amazing global opportunities. And a lot of that is supported, I should say, by our alumni. We talk about the great relationship we have with industry partners, which is incredibly important for anybody considering to come and study in Ireland. But our alumni are an incredible asset to our organisations. Alumni give us fantastic supports, and those supports come in lots of different forms, but the engagement they have with our organisations is very important. And very often they'll come back and they'll speak, they'll act as guest lecturers, but more importantly, they'll take part in the life and the everyday life of the organisation, and students have an opportunity to meet them. And that can be very important, because I often find, irrespective of the discipline, career opportunities can be very much informed, if not influenced, by networking. And that is something we do really well in Ireland in our universities and our institutes of technology. We provide a platform for our students to meet with people, be they alumni, community groups, industry partners, and very often employment opportunities can come out of that. And sometimes it's hard to really measure that, but it's an action, and it's very well known and it's very well documented in the work we do. So I think it's an exciting time. It's a really exciting time to be studying in Ireland as well. You know, our country is evolving like so many other countries around Europe, but what's fantastic about Ireland here is the really high standard we have in higher education that has been maintained, that has been continuously grown and supported, and I hope that continues as we go forward into the next decade of learning.
Thank you so much for that, Caution, for that lovely conclusion. It's been a pleasure hosting all of you this afternoon. Thank you for that wealth of information. I think the prospective students and our webinar attendees have learned a lot. Of course, this video will be on YouTube. You can access it whenever you want. And I did share the email addresses of my panelists. And it's been a pleasure, working together with Enterprise Ireland on this webinar series. So thank you so much, Anam. Thank you for everything. And I let you say a few words before we close.
Thanks a lot, Namita. This has been great. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. And yeah, students out there, if you have any questions, do reach out to us. Do check out the Education in Ireland website as well, and follow us on social media. Quick reminder about the Education in Ireland virtual showcase that's happening later this month. You'll find details on our website and again on Instagram, Facebook. So thanks again, Namita. We really enjoyed doing this with you.
Thank you, Anam, and have a great rest of the day, panelists, wherever you are.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Bye-bye all.
Thanks,